It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hello there guys, back again to do another tattoo progress update. I'm doing kind of a part 2 to my back blackout because I had a lot of thoughts in general on that subject. There's a lot to unpack and I didn't really want to make an hour-long video about this. And to be honest with you, if I talked about all of my thoughts during that session and afterwards and beforehand and everything like that, I would definitely be coming in around an hour. So I just figured I better do 2 parts to this. So where I left off, I was talking about the absolute necessity of a second pass on this matter. I don't expect that this will be fully solid. You can see some, mag lines and some places where it isn't super smooth. Some of that will, come out in the wash, so to speak. Some of it will mellow out when it peels. But I do expect it to be fairly streaky, and we weren't going for necessarily the cleanest first run anyway. The whole thing was done with a 49 mag. We did it as fast as possible. We covered ground as quickly as I think someone at Terry's level of experience doing what he was doing could possibly do. I think he did a great job. Don't get me wrong. We don't do blackout every day at the shop, although it is happening more and more often. I took some video clips of the massacre that was the floor after we were done here. Terry had blacked out Ashlyn, one of the new apprentices' arm one day. Then he blacked out his ankle, and then we sat down to do my back in the 4.5 hours that it took the next day. So this whole thing was like training day for Terry, like almost like he was getting ready for it. He was very excited to see if it could be done. So was I, as I mentioned in the last video. And I was getting ready in my own way for it because it was like, like I've done things similar to this, but not anytime recently. So it was like, I've got to be the best version of Remy I could be today and show the world to some degree, and myself, more importantly, that I'm still the motherfucker that I used to be. And though I don't do these kinds of sessions as often as I used to, I'm still capable of them. I should say I touched on this about whether or not people get weaker or things hurt more as you age. I don't feel like that felt any worse than it would have before. And in fact, I probably sat better for it than I would have years ago. And I should say that I was putting off blacking out my back for around 4 or 5 years. Then people were surprised to see that I did it. There was a lot of people who haven't been listening to me for the last year or so, I guess. And I'm not really that surprised because I don't think people pay that much attention to begin with, let alone on things that don't concern them. With that said, I've been talking about doing this for about a year. We had a guest artist here, Alex Rose, who did the one on the back of my neck. I'll put a picture in here. I was gonna have him do it in one session last October. And now nearly a full year later, I finally gotten around to it. And it was for a variety of reasons that I didn't do it. So I'm going to talk a bit about that, and then I'm going to get into potentially what's next. So not the least of which, it's a bit of a mess to take my back out of the equation now because it's been so built into my whole suit. There are parts all over the place that will need to be refined now because of the destruction that was keeping my back for all these years. And just the fact that the back was built into my front from the start. So even my first bodysuit, my back and my front were worked on you know, I worked on my back, I worked on my front every week for about a year. So those things were being constructed together and to some degree built as a piece together. Even though the subject matter is quite a bit different, you take out one and you have to do something about it. So for example, the artist that was working on my front was, I think, wishing that he was doing both my back piece and my front piece. He never said that, but he did things that made that very obvious. Like he stuck parts of the original tentacles so far into the sides of my front piece that they were part of the back piece. It was almost like he was like trying to fuck with Lee, the other artist that I was working with on my back piece. Lee was completely professional, I should say. He didn't do anything like that with the back piece, but the guy who was working on my front piece was definitely fucking with Lee, as far as I can see. Trying to make it harder for him to do his back piece by putting parts of the front into the back. So even in that back piece, there are parts in the pillars that are covering up little bits of the tentacles and stuff like this, because when I took that first torso out, we had to repair the back piece. So it's not as simple as it looks back there. There's a lot of chaos that went on there. And yeah, it came together fairly well, and I was happy to keep it for a long time because it was dark enough, and it was a mix of realism and black work as it was. So it kind of went with the Blackout. And again, a lot of detractors, as usual, will mention that they really liked that piece. Why did I black it out? I have this with everything I ever change. That will never ever not happen. Even my most hated tattoos, there will be fans of them. So this chest piece, for example, got a lot of hate. If I were to then black this chest piece out, there will be people who miss this chest piece. And you know what? If I did that, I wouldn't miss this chest piece. Because like, I don't have these kinds of attachment to things. I found it very odd and a little concerning just how attached people have been to various parts of my work over the years. I understand liking things, but when they're not even on your own body, I don't really understand, like, I'll miss that piece, or you shouldn't have done that. It's like, you have your own body. I won't be hurt by it if you tattoo some version of it on you, you know? That won't upset me. It won't give me any kind of concern. I had my old chest piece. I had several people send me their versions of it. Like, they were like budget, fast, one session versions of the old skull and wings, the three skulls and wings. I wish I had some pictures to show, but I had some people send me their versions of it, and it was never done well, but all I could do was be flattered by it and a little bit creeped out, because it's like, you like this piece that much, you didn't want to come up with your own, eh? Likewise, I just had a guy send me, we just reacted to it on a palm tattoo video. It was basically this palm tattoo. It was just a smaller version, and it didn't have the, and don't get me wrong, I've seen this design, but he specifically said that he got that because he liked mine. And you know, that's a better route than being upset when I get rid of something, by the way, because you have your own fucking body. So if you want that, you know, there are whole artists out there that I've seen that, like, there's one that has blocked me on social media because he kept getting annoyed with people tagging me and saying you're ripping off Remy, because almost everything he did was some version of my first or now third torso. So, and in someone's eyes, I wasn't the one saying it. I had people tagging me in this, like, oh, you're ripping off, almost every day. So he must have got tired of it. And I went to search for his account just to see if I could find it, just to show someone one day, and he had blocked me, which I think is as petty as anything. But anyway, I'm getting a little off topic. So with concerns to what's next with the back piece, there's still some things to do. It looked like it was fully blacked out, and that's because it was. But my back goes down to my ass, and we didn't go there. It was more or less like, I don't think my body could have handled much more than that and healed well. Speaking of healing well, I knew it would heal well. I wasn't concerned with that, and here we are now 2.5 days later, and I've started the peeling process. I would have done these videos right that day after the back blackout, but for one thing, I was super lightheaded and I needed to eat. I was getting delirious, and I knew that was a blood sugar related thing. It was nothing else. The tattoo itself wasn't even really sore. I have like that muscle pain, like I've been worked over with a baseball bat or something. That's frequently how I feel after a big blackout session. I don't feel like skin sore, I feel more like muscle sore. It's probably because you don't work any one part of the skin that hard. It's more like, since you're covering ground so fast, you're gonna probably do a lot of damage to the body, but not a whole lot to the skin if you're doing it correctly. If you're spending a lot of time saturating an individual area with blackout, you probably shouldn't be doing the blackout. You gotta have a pretty good understanding of the skin and how to saturate it fast to do blackout well. And anytime that you get stuck in the details and you have to go over something over and over and over again, you're probably gonna do damage to the skin. What we were covering was mostly black and gray shading. There was some white in there and a lot of heavy black, but there wasn't a lot of scar tissue anywhere on my back, and there was no color to cover, so it covered fairly easily. Now with that said, a second pass is coming, and right now, if I were to pull down my pants and put my ass on camera, you'd be able to see that there's a small amount of the woman on the lower back, there's a small amount of her legs that are still there. So it looks pretty funny if I don't have pants on right now, because there's just a pair of thighs hanging down the back side of my back. That won't last for long though, because I'll probably be in for another session on my back in 2 weeks. There's also a few little pieces of filigree on the sides of my front, like meeting with my back, that have got to be sorted out. And there's some stuff throughout here that needs to be refined, and I plan on getting all of that in the same session. So that'll be another fairly big back blackout session. I think it'll probably be another 3 or 4 hours before we are done with it. Because yeah, we're gonna touch most of it, probably just smooth everything out. You won't be able to see mag lines, and then there's some landscaping to do around the sides and the bottom of it. When this is all healed, there's a little spot right here that we're gonna have to reconstruct the white and black on black here. Just because there was a little skull there that came up into the middle of that piece, and we're gonna have to rebuild that shading, but I think that'll only take like 5 minutes, and it'll probably be 2 passes of white and black on black, I should say. But we'll let that heal. It's not gonna drive me crazy. And then after that, I'm gonna leave my back for quite a while. I know a lot of people are probably expecting me to do what I did with my head and my chest, but I'm not actually planning on going that fast with any of this. I think I've got a lot going on right now, and I want to get my arm finished with Rick, and I want to start the red shading on my torso with Terry now. I think that's gonna go in 1 or 2 sessions. I don't think we're gonna be hung up on that long. And then after that, I've got a few more little plans with Terry, and then I'll probably get into at least thinking about what I want to do with my back. I'll get into what I'm thinking about, at least on the channel here. But I'm always a big under promise, over deliver guy, and I don't really want to talk about things that I'm not getting to right away. There are probably gonna be some people who are disappointed because they probably want to hear what I'm doing back there, since I blacked out such a nice piece, as if most of my blackout wasn't nice pieces that I was blacking out. This shouldn't be new to anyone by now, but it is for some reason. You know, I just don't like to do a lot of talking. Like, I'll talk a lot about it right before, because I'm almost talking myself into it. I'm almost campaigning, or I'm doing the layups, or like I'm working out, I'm getting into it mentally, you know. But if I'm not going anywhere near it for a while, I'm not going to talk a whole ton about it. Since I mentioned working out, this has been the first session that's put me off working out for more than a couple days. This is day 3 now, and I'm starting to feel like a complete slob because I haven't even done a set of push-ups. And usually I do 300 push-ups a day alongside my normal workout. I do between 60 to 80 weighted pull-ups and chin-ups every morning while breakfast is cooking, and then I do my workout aside that. And I haven't done anything in 3 days, and I'm starting to feel like a land whale, like I'm just completely useless and worthless. And I'm doing this intentionally. I know this morning I could have done some stuff. I've started doing my stretches. I do stretches every day too this morning, but I didn't want to give my back any further complications, and I do a lot of back workout. So a lot of my casual routine is back day. Like there's a little bit of back day in every day for me. So back, shoulders, and chest are very, very integral to my workouts. And I didn't want to give my back any more to struggle with. I put it through more discomfort than I've ever put it through in my life. And I feel like it was fair that I give it some time, especially given all we did. So with all of that said, I think I pretty well covered my my back blackout. I did have to go to some fairly dark places to get through that mentally, and I feel like if you don't have a strong mental game, it doesn't really matter what it feels like, you're not going to make it through something like that, because I don't physically feel any tougher than anyone else out there. It's just about discipline and mental callous. And there were some things going on here at the shop that day that were taking away my discipline or my concentration a little bit, and that was actually the hardest part. There was a person that was very, very loud in the area and very obnoxious at times, and I found it hard to get away. And for a session like what I was doing, I spend a good deal of time in what I call the pain cave, whether I like it or not. And I was having a bit of a hard time at times getting to that place, but I got there, obviously. And to be honest with you guys, if it had taken us another 3 hours, I would have sat for it. There was no part of me that couldn't do it. As long as Terry could get it done, I could get it done. And I knew that my body would heal it, so it was just par for the course. Once I decide I'm doing it, I'm doing it. And it's just time in between, I knew I'd be here. And this is something I say to myself anytime I do any kind of a hard session or even a small session. It's always like, what day, what feeling, what moment that was ever so bad ever lasted long? The worst pains last as long as the easiest pains. You're gonna go through it, and you're gonna get to the other side of it, and all it's gonna be is a memory, and you're gonna get whatever it is that you were looking for. You're gonna get to keep that forever, and you're gonna keep the memory forever as well. The only part of it that's temporary is the pain, and that's also the easiest part in the long run, is thinking, oh, well, I dealt with a little bit of pain, Anyway, I will talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.